All right, before we get into it, this episode of Jocks and Jills, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Shark Ninja. You know what? Their products make our day better all the time, Tessa. And my life was significantly improved when I heard your name for your robot vacuum cleaner. And I'm into naming robots. The one we had as a kid, my parents called Rosie, like the Jets, but I think your name is way better.
So a long time ago, I had one and its name was Sparky for whatever reason. But now my Shark Clean robot ninja, its name is Clean Latifah. We felt it was fitting. We liked her. The kids called it a her from the beginning. And we're like, you know what?
She has
Clean
feminine
Latifah
energy.
it is. I feel like I almost wanted to start an Instagram page for her. I wasn't sure. I was just like, I don't know. She's got this energy about her. And like, I'm not saying my life is crummy, but like there's a lot of crumbs in my life. If you've ever seen Annie, a kid that stands up on a chair to eat, like it is impossible for my children's bums to touch their chair and to eat a meal like start to finish. It is like you gotta have a bite of something, chew it while standing and like shaking like this, and then like probably grab a piece of something that you're not supposed to leave the table with. Do a hot lap around the table and then go back to your chair and like be on your knees and probably smack the other kid who dropped something else on the floor. Like if you looked under my table, I could probably feed a family of 4. Now that we have Clean Latifah, she's all over this mess. It's like Ed and I's thing. We're out of the stage where there's like true scary landmines where like we would be stepping on cars or like little dolls or whatever where our feet would hurt. Now it's like the gross landmines where we used to step on like squishy bits of not good stuff or like crunchy pieces of granola. And it's like, we're dragging it everywhere. We're just like, this is horrible. And so Clean Latifah, she's been like the greatest addition to our family since we had Tanky. I'm not going to lie. She's like number 2. Like Clean Latifah is the bomb. And on top of it, Clean Latifah not only vacuums it up, she mops my freaking floors.
Whoa. I didn't realize she had that function.
Yeah. We don't even charge her rent because that's how good she is.
That's awesome. Big fans of all 3 of Shark Ninja's brands, Shark Beauty, Shark Home, Ninja Kitchen. Shark Ninja is a proud founding partner of the PWHL and presenting sponsor here at Jocks and Jills. All right, let's get rocking. Episode 28 of Jocks and Jills. Tessa, how we doing? How we feeling? Happy Friday.
Thank you. Happy Friday to you too. I'm feeling great. My son is so enthralled with like, okay, Mom, who's stronger, lava or snow? And I'm like, well, lava every time, but like lava's winning every time. And he was like, okay. So then he'll like randomly throw stuff out, but he like gets hung up on some things. And
okay,
I didn't know this because I think it was, what was it, Wednesday morning, did I tell you? Or Tuesday morning? I can't remember. All my mornings are mashed. He was like, Mom, who's stronger? Bella, who is my brother-in-law's dog, this little black, I don't even know what kind of dog it is, but it's very teensy, or Enzo, your dog, who they name Enzo. And I'm like, well, Enzo, like Enzo's bigger. Enzo could for sure. He's like, yeah, Enzo. And I was like, this is hilarious. So I told Ed, he was like, yo, he asked me the same question the night before. I'm like, he was doubling down to find out who was tougher and stronger, Enzo or Bella.
Funny.
To the point where like he needed to know. And like after I told him, he was like, you could see him. He was like, yeah. And he like walked away and was just like really pondering it. And then I find out you had an interesting experience to back up my answer with Enzo at the dog park playing Alpha Pup.
Yeah, I did. Honestly, and I need to see a picture of Bella because I haven't had a visual on her yet. I need to confirm that Enzo would win that dog fight, that he's
Take my word for
tougher
it.
than her.
Take my word for it.
Okay, confirmed. Enzo, I'm going to have to give Jill Saunier a call. I'm going to have to give Vanishva a call because they have inspired my little wiener dog to be a little menace to society. Enzo has big kind of dog energy. You've been around him. Like he's around a lot of big dogs. My boyfriend's family has huskies and labs and retrievers. Like they have big dogs and like a big doodle, and Enzo plays with them all the time. Like he can be rough and
he can hold his
tumble
own. Yeah.
with the big dogs. Totally. So we go to the dog park, loves the dog park. Enzo's a big fan of the dog park. I know some dogs aren't really into it. Enzo like waits all day till we go to the dog park. We go. It's a really muddy day at the dog park. We're having a good time. It was a couple days ago when it was like that little fake spring moment we were having when it was kind of like +5 outside. Really hopeful time of the year. All big dogs at the dog park. And usually Enzo's into that. but there's a small Shih Tzu wearing a pink jacket that Enzo
Ooh.
just won't leave alone. And the owner's like really nice, but obviously getting a bit uncomfortable with the way Enzo won't leave this dog, this Shih Tzu in a pink jacket alone. And then
Was he roughhousing or what? Or was it just like
he
trying
was
to get the other
grabbing
dog
the
going?
jacket. He'll like nose boop dogs. Like he'll give him a bump with his nose. Like, come on, like chase me, like play with me. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's obviously like, I know the dog. I'm very aware of what he's trying to do. He's nipping at the jacket, pulling at the jacket, trying to get this dog to chase him around.
Play. Yeah.
The pink jacket is a zip-up jacket. And the jacket starts to come off a little bit as Enzo continues to pull at it and try and goat this dog into playing. And the mom at this point is like, oh yeah, like she's starting to get a little weirded out. And I'm like, Enzo, leave her pink jacket alone. And then the mom is offended. She's like, no, he's a boy. He just likes pink. And I'm like, okay, sorry. I've like really obviously gone too deep into the well with trying to make dog friends at the park. So Enzo jerseyed a dog. He ended up jerseying this dog.
Took the jacket off?
Fully came over his head, her head, whatever the dog, it was a him, sorry. Fully came over his head. Like he was blind for a second. It was a really low parenting moment for me. Like Enzo was fully acting like a bully in the park. So maybe I could blame Theo for this.
Well, clearly there's something going on between the two of them. They've got like telepathic energy happening because I don't know. It was literally, the thing with Enzo, I get it. Like he's used to wrestling bigger dogs. So he's like used to wrestling that hard. It's kind of like Theo when we're like, if you want to wrestle hard, you have to wrestle dad. If you wrestle someone your size, you have to make sure that they want to, and you got to be gentle. Our rule is like no headshots, no jump shots.
Did not consent. He was not in.
There's no consent. So Enzo needs to learn about consent, clearly.
Obviously. What about you? How was your week? Shirley's Girlies bounced back.
Oh, girl,
like you guys were in it.
Great week. It ended in a tie. And usually when we're tied and the Zamboni guy's like honking the horn and he's opening the doors, like get off the ice. We're like, okay, man, just give us like 3 more minutes. Next goal wins. They're usually like, yeah, sure. This time they're like, no. We play at this arena where there's like 4 rinks or 3 rinks. And so usually there's no one on after us, but one of the rinks was out of commish because there was a tournament on earlier that day for high school. And I guess the glass was broken. They didn't have a replacement. Something was up with the ice. I don't know. So people were on after us. So they kicked us off. And we're like, we can't end in a tie. Like, can we just do a shootout? They're like, no, get off. We're like, a 2-person shootout. Like, please. And they're like, no. So we ended in a tie. So I didn't lose. And I didn't get smoked out. Which was
Listen,
fantastic.
Tessa, you've been saying it. When Toronto was going through their slump, you were saying it. You just got to be picking up points to get out of a slump. We're probably going to say the same thing about New York in the next couple minutes here. Just got to pick up a point, try and make your way out of this. You did that.
The best part is, so everyone's like happy because there's no loser, right? Everyone's up. We usually go have a couple of cold beverages. People throw back some wings, whatever. I'm not going to name who, but the organizer of Shirley's Girlies, and I'm sure you can put 2 together. 2 and 2 together. She's usually a red wine orderer, which to me is like strange after hockey, but that's her jam and I dig it. And that's very her. And she never orders food, nothing like that. Just straight red wine in the gut. She's good to go.
A classy girl.
She orders up wings. Okay. So we're like, ooh, she orders up wings. Cool. We're chatting. Everyone's having a time. She asked me a question. We were talking about year-end parties that we could do for our team, which we decided we're probably going to try and get to a Scepters game. More on this in a minute. I look over at her and I look at her basket of wings. Julia, I've never been so shocked. And I was appalled and I didn't even make the wings, okay? She only ate the skin off of only the skin was gone off of the wings. It was like meat everywhere. And I was like, I will answer your question in 1 minute. What is happening down here? And she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? And then everyone was like, thank you. Gosh, you said something. Everyone had noticed. No one said something. So we're all over, right? We're like, this is hilarious. The waiter comes over, our buddy, Michael Scott. No, not Michael Scott. Matthew Scott is his name. He's like one of the best waiters at Pucks at 16 Mile. He's like, he grabs them. He's like, I'm going to package these up for you because you're not done, right? Like everyone's all over. So we're having a good laugh. I'm like, why didn't you just order like, you clearly don't like the wings. All you want is skin chips, right? Which is, after I said it, we laughed. And then I'm like, that's disgusting. And then we go online. There are recipes for chicken skin chips.
I love chicken skin.
Julia, everyone does,
when I
but
get
you
a
don't order
rotisserie
wings
from
just to eat the
no,
skin.
you don't. The best chicken skin is like when you go to the grocery store and you get a rotisserie and you're just like sticking your fingers in right when you get home. But doing it to wings, like that's just blasphemous. You know, I don't know
So
if you know
upset.
this about me, but I'm like so like I clean my bones. Like Liam and I will
So do
make
I.
steak
There's
and I'll
nothing.
chew on the bone at the end of the night. Like I love chewing on. That's so weird. I'm like, yeah, I love to chew on cartilage. That is so insane that she just ate the skin off the wings.
I know. And it's like, it didn't matter, flats or drums. It was just skin gone. So anyways, so she's like, I'm never eating in front of you guys again, which we had a good laugh. Anyways, the conversation continued. We're actually going to try and do and I hope more beer league teams do this, ladies. We're going to do our year-end party at a Scepters game, we've decided.
That is awesome.
And
what's the plan? Like
the girls are
a row of tickets?
We're going to try and get a box. Yeah, we just decided we're going to have it. But then we obviously, second beer deep, we all start getting creative. We're like, we need to be the intermission game. Shirley's Girlies needs to be the intermission game. And we want to get Jocks and Jill's jerseys against Skin Chip jerseys.
Oh, so I was going to say like you guys play against Timbits.
Well, listen, there's a lot of former really good players on this team.
I know. You know what? We recently got a DM. It's not Tuesday, so we don't have a sentence segment, but we recently got a DM that was like, we want to hear the roster for Tessa's beer league team. Like, what kind of beer league are you playing in with a whole bunch of former Olympians?
So I say beer league. It's not. It's like what happens is a group of girls go early. They have a beer up at Puck's
Any
bar.
type of adult league to me is beer league. Like whatever it is, it's just
and
beer league to
me. We have a chat. Everyone, are you in? Are you out? There's a poll that goes up. Everyone says in. Okay, we have the list of players that are showing up, and then the ladies that go and have a beverage before the game separate the teams, make sure they're relatively even. But during our loss, because I've been basically moaning and crying about it, they've kept the teams relatively similar these past 3 times.
Got it.
Because they're all listeners to the pod, right? And so, I mean, I can get you a full list. You want me to go down the list and read who is
Can we throw out some highlights that maybe listeners would recognize from being women's hockey fans?
Women's hockey fans. So a lot of these players I played NCAA with, one of which I was actually her host when she came to Ohio State on a visit in Leah Craig. Julie Allen, Joanne Eustace way back in the day, Jana Harrigan, who played at Ohio State, Ashley Riggs hasn't come out yet, but she's been in the program. Alyssa Baldwin played for the Toronto Furies in the CW. Sam Shirley in the program. Martine Garland, I've talked about Marty before. Actually, if anybody listens to comedy at all, Jerry D was her teacher back in the day.
Oh.
And like a lot of the comedy that he talks about with kids in classes, Marty's like, that was my class. Like, I know the kid that he's talking about, kind of thing. I'm like, that's epic. Anyways, I'm buddies with Jerry, and we figured out that we both know Marty, and he was like, she's the best athlete, and he's bang on. Best athlete. I never knew how this kid didn't make the team ever in the national program, just because she was we actually talked about this. She was so consistent. She never got your team in trouble. You can put her in. She's incredibly intelligent. She's a lawyer now, but her IQ on the ice was like so great. But I guess it was just the processing point, because she had mentioned, like, I remember going to national camp and thinking, wow, this is like a step and a half faster than like what I'm used to. So sometimes that gets people. Michelle Bonello, who was my D partner in the PWHL. Sammy Jo Small, who's not playing goaltender. She's out. She's a defender, and she is good. Sammy, first of all, you're not getting any pass past Sammy. Nice. That's weird to say that. She blocks everything. She picks stuff out of the air. It's like she makes the easy pass. Like, she's just, I was her D partner for a little bit on Tuesday, and I was just so impressed. Yeah. Zamora Ashley Stevenson, she's not with us anymore because she actually works with the Blue Jays. She's a big baseball player. Kat Smith, like, we've got tons of players that play on here. It's the best, honestly.
I've been thinking about Sammy Jo Small recently. Remember last year in the Utica bubble? I don't know what made me think of this the other day when we had the greatest catering last year at Women's World Championships in Utica. Like, the rink food was so good. And there was a daily soup and salad bar. Wish I could have a daily soup and salad bar in my life every day. And one day, Sammy Jo Small made herself a wrap. Actually, maybe it was dinner time, but she put KD inside the wrap, and I was so disturbed by it. I think I made a video of it on Jocks and Jill's because I was like so disturbed by it.
He did. Anyways, everyone keep an eye at for the Shirley Girlies at one of the Scepters games. Eventually, we will be there and we will be loud and we'll be proud. And hey, if I can swing it, maybe we'll be the intermission. And look, we don't want to take away from any kids team.
I do. I want to take away intermission games. Sorry, I don't want to be on the ice. Like, I want to do the dumb intermission games. Remember, again, last year, when me and my friend Abby did the hamburger stacking race?
But that's a second intermission. That's a second intermission.
Yeah.
The second intermission is always those types of games. First intermission is like
one? Like, you actually want to go out there on the ice? You don't just want a stupid game?
Yeah, we want to play. We want to be like the Timbits players that are out there playing. Yeah,
like,
but it would be better for us to be in the first intermission,
beer.
Just so things don't get a little out of control when we're at the game. You know, like
I feel like that's what you want. You want an out of control second intermission game. That's what I want, at least. That's what I'm pitching myself.
I don't want to get hurt. We're gonna suit you up anyways, too, Julia.
I missed the 67 wiener dog race, so we need some intermission time. We need an intermission game.
I heard.
Yeah, we'll have to get out to the 67's wiener dog race next year, or pitch a PWHL team to have a wiener dog race. I'd honestly.
That's it.
Yeah.
A wiener dog race hosted by Jocks and Jills.
That's what we need. That's what we need.
Yeah.
I feel like I was just about to say something to you and now I'm forgetting it.
Not sure, but we're going to get you suited up. I don't know who you'll probably be on the Jocks and Jills teams, but if you dig skin chips, Julia, if you're that passionate about chicken skin, we can get you on the skin chips.
I think I might have to be on the skin chips team just because of like where I stand with rotisserie chicken and pulling all the skin off it when I come home from the grocery store. You know, you know what I was just going to say is we need to plan a second party because Jackie, I forgot that our producer Jackie and I have the same birthday, March 30th. So I feel like we should all get out to a Scepters game or something like that.
A little celebration never goes wrong.
At the end of March. And we're
speaking end of March.
Yeah. We're going to be in Montreal and Ottawa. We've finally picked some dates to come see the final two Canadian markets. Can I give you a drum roll, Tessa? Dun, 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 dun.
March 25th, Ottawa. We're coming for you. We're going to get Buckles in the mix too. I'm dragging Buckles out. I don't even know if she's available. She's coming.
No, 100%.
Buckles, are you available? She's avail.
Nice. We're all going to Ottawa. Tessa's going to road trip. I don't feel like driving, so I'm probably going to fly, but we could call it a road trip anyways. It's going to be great. So we'll see you guys in Ottawa, March 25th. And
not too long after that, April 1st, Montreal, coming for the poutine.
It is not an April Fool's joke. We will be back for another poutine. I could only expect that there will be a snowstorm because every time I've been in Montreal this year,
I know
there's been like an aggressive amount of snow. Not Ottawa. Ottawa, I've had.
Really? Ottawa's usually gets hammered just as much as Montreal, but sure.
No, I know. I've had good luck with Ottawa this year, though, I think is where I'm going with that. Every time I've been in Montreal this year, there's been a ton of snow. So we'll be there. Ottawa, March 25th. Montreal, April 1st. Do not worry, American markets. Boston, New York. We've been to Minnesota so far this season. We will get to you guys. We'll be there. But speaking of those Canadian markets, Tessa, anytime Toronto, Ottawa, or Montreal play, you get free delivery on orders over $20. Use promo code PWHLDEL during any Canadian PWHL game for free delivery. And continuing that Canadian love, Pizza of Pizza's reverse tariff deal for 25% off. Your total order can be used when you use code reverse tariff online or in the Pizza app, Tessa.
The funniest thing is Theo legit has caught on to this, to the like free delivery thing. And he asks me like every morning, are the Victoire playing today? Because that's his favorite team. And I was like, no, not today. Do they play this weekend? Yeah, they play on Saturday. Okay, we'll get pizza on Saturday. And does anybody play on any other day? I'm like, dude, we're not doing more than one pizza day a week, dude. Like, you already have pizza at school during the week, and then we get pizza on Saturdays. Like, whatever game. It's either Friday or Saturday, I should say. But he's caught on. So they've got him hook, line, and sinkered.
You know what they say? Pizza always says everyone deserves pizza. Our headlines this week in the PWHL. Big news out of Boston. There will be a major celebrity in the house for their game on Wednesday, March 5th. I'm pretty pumped about the new WLL, the Women's Lacrosse League. I love the NLL. Like, I think it's a pretty underrated game, both in the US and Canada, specifically box lacrosse. So pumped for this person to be in the house in Boston.
Yeah, highly decorated lacrosse player who played for Boston College. I'm wondering if she knows any of the ladies, the hockey ladies
Right.
that went to Boston College. She won a national championship there. She also played at Duke, and she casually won an Olympic gold medal. No biggie with Team USA. She's a goalie's nightmare. You want to watch some of her highlights? She's a sniper. Like, it's unbelievable. Arguably, actually, the greatest female lacrosse player of all time, Charlotte North, is going to be dropping the puck at their game. So I feel like, I don't know, we should have her on to chat a little bit. I like for our headlines prior to that game. We got to reach out to her. We got to get her on somehow because clearly she's one of the GOATs and she deserves to be celebrated. And we're all about that.
100%. I've been loving seeing all the women's sports crossovers with the PWHL this season. So great having all those characters supporting the game. Women's sports is such a great network of women supporting one another. It's great to see that. Have you ever played lacrosse before?
No, when I was probably
I
about
wish I did.
13 or
It's a
14,
sport I
me
didn't
too. My
play.
dad, my dad always had them kicking around, but there wasn't much of it or in terms of an organized sport up in Sudbury when I was growing up. It came up
Right.
right when I became a teenager and really started dialing into hockey. But
Me
that doesn't mean
too.
like my dad had sticks laying around with balls, so I would like play with it in the garage sometimes. But like outside of that, no.
Yeah. Liam is so good. Like, my boyfriend is so good. I wish I would have played lacrosse. Like, my friend Abby, who I've already mentioned on this podcast, she was like the only girl in Thunder Bay. There was tons of boys lacrosse and it was
Yeah,
organized. She was the only girl in Thunder Bay
so
that like
wicked.
ever played lacrosse. I don't know why I didn't do it with her. You know why? I
Yeah.
actually know why, because she'd always like have to, there'd be a rotation of who would have to go in net. And I think I went to her
Oh
game one time when she was in net and I was like,
no,
I'm never putting that
no.
on. So
Yeah, so you're
don't
sick that
bother.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just not playing. I won't be
Yeah.
participating in general because there's a potential I
Yeah.
might have to put that on at some point. So pumped to have Charlotte in the house Wednesday, March 5th in Boston. Make sure you guys all show up and show up for that one. Keep going with the Boston news. Hannah Brandt was fined $250 for cross-checking to the head during the first period of the Takeover Tour game in Buffalo. So she's been hit with a fine for that. And continuing on with some more kind of odds and ends type news, Taylor House signed to a standard player agreement. Pretty impressive what Ottawa's been doing without Razova in the lineup, one of their biggest offensive threats. But good to
Yeah.
see Taylor House on a regular SPA.
Yeah, Mrazova was tossed on the LTIR, retroactive back to Feb 13th. I think that was the 8-3 game. She suffered an upper body injury, but she's
Yeah.
eligible to return March 7th. So just have an eye there.
Speaking of have an eye there, March fast approaching, the trade
Yes.
deadline and trade freeze have been moved just ever so slightly. The PWHL moved the trade deadline to March 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and the roster freeze to March 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So we've already seen a couple trades this year. There were a couple on the trade deadline last year. Pretty interested
Yes.
to see what teams are thinking ahead of this trade deadline.
I know. It's just going to be like buyer, seller. What do you need? Do you feel like you have holes in your lineup? Is there someone that you feel like another team could get more out of it and there's someone on their team that you want to get more out of? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Or teams might just stay put and be happy with what they've got.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. For now, though, Tessa, let's get into the games this week. Toronto, Montreal. This was a battle for first place just before this
was.
game. Scepters fans sent into another tailspin.
I
No
know.
Sarah Nurse in the lineup lately. Again, like I just mentioned this with Ottawa, but impressive what Toronto's been doing without Sarah Nurse lately. And I know they got Natalie Spooner back, but no Hannah Miller in the lineup for Toronto in this one. That was
Good news is it's
such a
day
blow
to
for
day,
them.
right?
Yeah.
Day to day with an upper body injury. So that's the best bad news you could get. It's not LTIR, it's just day to day. And good news is that there's break coming up. So lots of rest and recovery for Hannah Miller. So no Miller time in Montreal.
No Miller time in Montreal. It's so true. Tragic.
Yeah. But Montreal takes this game 3-1. And look, Montreal was a little bit on a losing skid, 2-game losing skid. And sometimes you just need your best players to be your best players to get your team out of that and really lead the way. And that's exactly what Montreal's top line did to secure their spot in first place. Poulin had a goal and assist. Gardiner had a nice goal. Nice to see her find the back of the net. I know she was in a little bit of a slump. And Laura Stacey getting that empty net goal, the nail in the coffin, and an assist. So that top line playing the way they had to for the entirety of the game, I felt like they were dialed. And it was just like, it's funny because we're only in season 2. It's so funny talking about this league because I feel like it's been around forever. However, you saw what happened last season with Minnesota around this time of year, right? So it's like everyone's aware of what can happen, and everyone's aware, like we said last episode, that it only takes 3 games for the standings to get thrown into a Yahtzee, thrown into a blender, and all of a sudden it looks completely different. So they didn't want to let first place slip away. They came in that top line, meaning straight business. Kayla Barnes, I thought, played fantastic. She's been, we haven't really pumped her up enough on this podcast. I don't feel like she's been nothing short of absolutely fantastic for this team since the beginning of the year. And I know the team loves her. I know she loves playing there. And I'm sure head coach Corey Chevry is incredibly appreciative of her talents and skill that she has out there. There hasn't been a moment this season where I've been like, oh, Kayla, none of that. It's mostly been like, wow, Kayla, you know what I mean? She's just been so dialed and so fantastic. I'm really happy for her. And I think it's just going to carry over onto, Team USA side if she can stay healthy for the Americans. So she's dialed. Jessie Comfer's dialed for Toronto.
She's been so good this year. That's another underrated character in the PWHL this season.
Totally. It took a while. That line, Comfer and Turnbull, I know they were trying different wingers on that line to try and get going. It seems like Comfer and Skimera have really found something going, but there's something about, she's got 5 points in the last 5 games. On her goal, the puck movement that Toronto had was glorious. It was a thing of beauty. It was like up, pass it back to the D, right back up, enter the zone with speed, little drop pass, cut across the middle, shot, goal. Boom. It was just like, there was no overthinking. There was no overdoing. There was nothing too fancy. It was like, get the puck, move the puck, be on with it. What I loved about it is, and this is where, if there's any coaches out there that are going to coach young ladies, tape to tape passes. When you're teaching them to practice, teach your kids to pass the puck as hard as they can every time. And it's going to cause a lot of broken drills at first, but they're going to get used to passing hard and accepting hard passes, which is only going to get them to move the puck a little quicker, right? In games.
Right.
Now, on top of that, once you get them passing hard, then you teach them to start thinking ahead. Before you get that puck, before you call for it, have an idea where you're going to want to move it. And that's exactly what happened on this play. If anybody wants to go back and look at this play, please do, because every player knew where they were putting that puck before the puck touched their stick. And that's what made this play so incredibly perfect. It was fast, heads up, move it up forward, get into the zone, get a shot on net hockey. It was glorious. It was perfection. Chef's kiss. I loved it. I digged it. Solid way for Toronto too to end. I think it was a 10 or 11 day road trip with all of the travel. It was.
I'm laughing because Emma Malte posted such a funny TikTok. It must have been 12 days because it was like, it was a funny song in the background. And the caption was, when you're on the 12th day or 11th day of a road trip or something like that. And it was just everyone looking miserable, no one talking to one another. I think the caption was, there's nothing left to say at this point. It's so true. When you get to that, you've been together so many days in a row.
Huge.
You just shut up, don't say another word. Man. I don't have anything new to tell you. You don't have anything new to tell me. There's nothing left to say.
I just want to go home. Yeah. But to think about it, it's crazy because it was their first regulation loss in 10 games, which is wildly impressive. And just like we said, just get points. They were in the bottom of the league not too long ago. Now they're sitting in second.
Yeah, it happened really fast. Going back though, I want to mention Anne-Renee Desbiens in terms of the big players on Montreal stepping up to end that little 2-game losing streak. Like, you don't see Montreal in that position very often, and the reason why is because you have players like Poulin, like Stacey, like Anne-Renee Desbiens that just shut the door when things just seem to be going a little bit awry. They don't allow it to snowball out of control. All right, we'll keep her going to this battle between Ottawa and New York on Wednesday night. This was a really good game. This was an extremely chaotic game. I don't know if I've seen the crowd as pissed off in any venue this season or last as the Ottawa crowd was last night. But you know what? Whatever, act like a hockey crowd. If you want to be ref you sucking, like that's what you want to yell, you go off. Ottawa was rowdy last night.
They were all about the chants. There were so many chants happening. Name
You're
chants,
so
ref
right.
chants. They were very chanty. It was a chanty crowd, if you will. So I don't know what was in the Kool-Aid in that venue, but hey, they had everyone in it. Everyone was raucous. I don't mind it. Because if you think about it, it was battle of the basement. Like, these Ottawa fans, what I love about them is they're educated. They know their team. They're aware of where they stand. They're vocal when they want more out of their squad. They cheer them on when they finally get it. So they know that this team is making a hard push and that they're starting to play the right way. They're making a hard push for the playoffs. Ottawa was coming off a massive win at home against Montreal. And so with that, I feel like they kind of had a lot to prove just to make it seem like, you know what, that wasn't a one-off. Like we know what Montreal's capable of, and we can take care of business on any given day. And it was their first home win against Montreal ever. So, I mean, a little bit of swagger for them heading into this one too, especially coming up against some of the bigwigs in Fillier and Carp, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's important to see them keep scoring too when you're talking about Fillier and Carp. Like if you want to shift to talking about New York and the rut that they've found themselves in lately, at least in this one and the previous one, they've picked up a point, right? But that gap in the standings has become kind of significant now.
Yeah, with Ottawa's win, there's 5 points between them. So New York finds himself 5 points back of fifth, and then 7 points back of fourth. So they definitely have some work, but it's not to say that they can't turn it around. Like I said, it doesn't take much. The good news is they got a point out of this one, right? It was a 5-4 overtime win. Which was a hard-fought battle for them too. And I think it's good. We saw it with Toronto. It's good to be in those tight, hard games where you feel like maybe it could have bounced your way and it just slipped away, but it doesn't matter. You got a point. Like there's stuff to build off of there. You're at least trending in the right direction, right? It wasn't like a game where you say to yourself, we under-delivered and, you know, that's unfortunate that we let that one go away. But not this one. It felt like they truly believe that they should have been in it. They fought till the end. And in overtime, I mean, my goodness, they had a really good chance right before Ottawa, Gabby Hughes and Ottawa went down and got
Shelton?
the game winner. It was Ella Shelton right on the side of the net. Yeah, it was.
And she had a nice goal already that game. I was watching
she had a really
FC
good
this
game.
morning. It looked exactly like they put it next to another on SportsCenter.
Yeah,
the goal that she got, looked exactly like the first goal that she got in PWHL history.
Yeah, she understands the mission. Like she gets what job needs to be done. Like Cheryl pointed it out on the broadcast where like she made a pass and the team even understands too the way Ella's playing because she is such an offensively gifted defender that, you know, she made a pass to her D partner along the boards, like from the middle to the boards, and then she crashed the net and her winger covered her back and like she had a chance. So she knows that like in order for her team to be successful, they do need depth in scoring and they need scoring coming from everywhere. And that's where her head is. Like, I want my team to be successful. And in order to have that to happen, I have to be the fourth forward essentially. And that's what she's doing. So kudos to her. She had a fantastic game. Great chance right at the end there. Could have ended, but that's just how hockey goes sometimes. Puck turns around, goes the other way. And next thing you know, you lost it in overtime. But
Mashmeyer with a point on the OT winner, which I absolutely love to see.
Totally. I was going to say another thing that needs to be pointed out is Mash. She get more? She has to have more assists than any goalie in the league by far. Mash. Like,
she has
I feel like she's
one
always
this
getting
year
points.
and one last year, and I can't even think of maybe Schroeder has a point too.
I felt like she had an assist. Mash had an assist earlier this year. Am I wrong on that? Something to look into.
At it pre-game,
regardless,
I say, yeah,
you did.
Pre-game, I say. Pre-game to me is pre-podcast, guys. Just so you know.
Regardless, she's playing great still. How about Emily Clark just finding another gear and playing the right way? Her point streak continues. 6 games. She's got 4 goals and 5 assists. I mean, this girl's on fire. If we could play Katy Perry right now, if we didn't have to pay for her music, we would. And if I could sing better, I would. So I'm not going to sing it.
What song would you play?
That girl is on fire.
You think that's Katy Perry? That's Alicia Keys. Mama.
Oh, it's Alicia Keys. Sorry, guys. It's Alicia Keys. Also,
Tessa,
a very good
you
singer.
are the girl on fire.
Is it Alicia Keys? Sorry,
it's
Alicia.
Totally
My
Alicia
goodness.
Keys.
Anyways, she's on fire.
Yeah.
And I love that you called me out on that.
So great for
Thank
Ottawa.
you.
Like, to have Emily step. I think that was the issue we talked about a lot with Ottawa at the beginning of the year. They're big leaders, just like weren't able to perform the way that we know that they can. To have Clarkie step up the way she has just been so awesome. And Gabby Hughes, oh my gosh, after that first goal
firing.
She got this year, it's just been downhill sledding for her, and I love it so much. She just has so much joy when she plays. I love watching her on the ice, and that OT winner last night was just electric.
You can't help but be happy for her. It's what you want. You want to see you want to see everyone playing at their best. That's it. You don't slumps happen, but you want to see people bounce back and doing their thing. And that's exactly what's happening for Gabby. So we're proud of her. And apparently she chipped her tooth.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Buckles seems to think that she's being dramatic with the level of which her tooth is chipped, but I would argue that any amount of your tooth being chipped is extremely traumatizing when you look in the mirror, even if it's the tiniest bit.
Yeah.
Agree to agree. Our dear friend, Emma Buckles, Tessa, had the opportunity to play in Ottawa with a lot of these players. And someone who we haven't mentioned in this game, but we have mentioned so far in this podcast as inspiring violence at the dog park is Vanishva. That is this week's subject of Break It Down with Buckles.
6 on 5 in final seconds. Ottawa has to hold on. Vanishva scores! What is going on, everybody? I'm Emma Buckles, and this is Break It Down with Buckles, where I discuss and showcase why these are the greatest players in the world. Today, we're talking about Tessa Vanishva on the Ottawa Charge. She is not like anybody I've discussed on Break It Down yet. She's a dual threat. What I love about her game is just her grittiness. She gets under people's skin, and she's the PWHL equivalent of the Tkachuk brothers, let's be honest. It's no shock to me that she was one of two to be involved in the first PWHL fight, and I love to see that passion, and she's brought her game to a whole other level this season where you can just see the bumps that she gives, make some big hits to get some energy on that bench, and you know, she has no doubt in her mind that she'll stand up for her teammates and herself when she needs to. And I love that. You know, it kind of reminds me, Tessa mentioned it a few episodes ago, the passion and the hatred that the U.S. and Canadian women's teams used to have, you know, back in Tessa's day. And Vanishva is going to be a big player to kind of bring that passion to the PWHL. Something I will say is some of her hits have been a little high, a little bit on the numbers, so she's got to watch out for that. But just this physicality that she's bringing to the game, I'm absolutely loving. And, you know, you're going to be looking over your shoulder to see whether Vanishva is going to be giving you a bump, but you're also looking over your shoulder because she's an incredible playmaker and goal scorer. You don't want to leave Vanishva alone in the slot. She has an incredible shot, and also she has this shooter's mentality where she is ready to shoot from any angle. And as a goaltender and defender, you got to be ready for that, and it creates a lot of opportunities both for herself and her teammates, and you've seen that this season thus far. Vanishva also has incredible speed. You know, playing with her last year, I got to see this in a couple of the practice reps that we would do, and her ability to take off in a matter of a few seconds. Her first 3 steps are incredibly fast, and this is a speed that she uses in her game. And as a defender, you kind of sit back on your heels a little bit because it's hard to maintain a gap with somebody that has speed like hers. With getting defenders on their heels, she creates space for herself and her teammates, and she really takes advantage of this space and makes some incredible plays and has some pretty sick goals this year. Tessa Vanishva is going to be huge for the Ottawa Charge's push into the playoffs here. I'm excited to see this physical game and this playmaking ability help them make this push. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Buckles. Didn't break down her fighting video, but appreciated nonetheless. I would like to see a full breakdown of the first ever PWHL tilt. Moving on to our interview segment this week, Tess. It's presented by Royale Tiger Paper Towel, power through tough messes. This is one that we had been looking forward to for a while because, hey, we know we love, and you especially love, sitting down with an Ohio State alumni on the Jocks and Jills podcast.
Absolutely. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Here is Jenn Gardiner on Jocks and Jills. All right, everybody, this is one that we're quite excited for. Former Buckeye on the podcast, so you know Tessa's jammed up. Montreal Victoire player. Guys, we're joined by Jenn Gardiner. How's it going? Thanks for hopping on with us.
Not bad. I'm really excited to be on. I feel like I've been listening to these episodes all season, so excited to get to chat with you guys.
Is it because you knew your number was going to get plucked soon and you wanted to be ready for what was going to come, or were you actually just listening as a fan?
I feel like listening as a fan, but you always mention Ohio State, so we have that Buckeye bias in every episode. So how can I not follow along?
You got to be
Totally
prepared. It almost feels like studying up, listening to episodes of Jocks and Jills before you come on the podcast. You got to be prepared for what we're going to throw at you. Listen, on this show, we like to start at the beginning, but I feel like we should maybe start with, we're recording this on Monday, February 24th. So I feel like we should start with yesterday maybe, because it was kind of a big day for you yesterday. You were at the Habs kind of all-star skills competition that they do inter-squad every year. I know the NHL all-star competition went away this year, but the Habs still had theirs. And you won the accuracy shooting contest. It was 9.4
By a
seconds
lot.
that you knocked off all those, what are they called? Like
Targets.
Darts? Targets?
Yeah.
Can you tell us
And the-
about that? Like, I'd be so nervous in that event because if you miss like a few times in a row, once you start missing, it feels like it could go downhill really fast. Like, I'd be nervous before that one.
The next closest was
Yeah.
12 seconds, Julia.
Yeah, so close. Even like you dusted I know the Sens had their inter-squad all-star skills competition the same day. You dusted all the Sens players too. Like, it was not close.
Yeah, no, it was fun. We found out like only the day before what skills we were doing. So it's like I didn't have much time to stress or think about it. I mean, there's only so many you can choose from. So it was like, yeah, I kind of just started preparing. And then when it actually happened, like all the guys were so nice and so fun to be with, and the staff and everyone all around. So it kind of made it to be a less stressful day and event than I thought it would be. And then, yeah, literally he's like, okay, you're up next. And so I went out there and just, all I told myself was like, it's just like shooting at home in the summer, like no big deal. You're just at home in the barn shooting at your targets. And then kind of just went for it. And I was in shock. I think everyone in the building was in shock because I don't know how that happened. I still am processing it, but yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And all the guys were pretty excited. Like they literally cleared the benches and yeah, it was fun.
So was it 4 for 4?
Yeah.
It was.
It's
That's so
unreal.
sick. I saw you hit like the last two. I didn't ever see the full video. So I was just like, I wonder if she went 4 for 4, if she even missed one, but you didn't. You were just like literally shooting targets.
Yeah, I guess had a good day.
Well, I feel like
would
you've
you
got
have
a lot of good days.
chosen? Absolutely. Would you have chosen that? Like, would you have done fastest skater, hardest shot? Would accuracy shooting been the one you would have chosen if it was up to you?
Of all
Yeah,
of them.
honestly, I think I would have chosen the two that I had, the fastest skater and the accuracy shooting. So that was good. I feel like they probably chose them strategically for us. So yeah, no, that made it better.
Amazing. We're coming into this interview with you riding a high.
Yeah.
But usually on Jocks and Jills, Tessa, do you have anything else on that?
No.
Okay, amazing. You mentioned shooting in the barn, and the usual way, like if you're not coming off an all-star win, like we usually start this podcast by going back to your hockey roots at the very beginning. You mentioned shooting in the barn. Was that out in Surrey, BC? Is that where your love for hockey kind of began, in the barn out back?
Yeah, definitely. I have an older brother, and so he would always have his friends over playing at home in the driveway. We were fortunate. We have a little bit of acreage, so we had a big property to rollerblade around and always had the nets out. And when the weather wasn't good, we have a barn. So we kind of turned that into a little bit of a shooting room and have some synthetic ice in there. So yeah, it's been pretty nice to have that at home in the summers too when I go back. And yeah, I'm pretty lucky. So it's kind of where it all started.
We had Emmerich Mashmeyer on, who also has like a hockey barn, if you will. I don't know if your net is as dented as hers or if you saw how completely destroyed that net was, but did you have a cross-checking tree as well? Or is that just the Mashmeyer family being all crazy with trees?
I didn't have that, unfortunately, but I actually did listen to Mash's episode. I clearly need to now, but no, I didn't have that. But yeah, my net is in rough shape, that's for sure. And I feel like it's something that you don't need to buy a new one of. It's like the shape of the net isn't going to change. So you just have to hit it or whatever it is. But yeah, there's definitely some plywood behind it to make sure I don't put holes in the wall.
I feel like there should be a museum of pro hockey players' nets that they used when they grew up.
Yeah,
because
it's like
they
a
all
badge
just,
of honor. The more
it's
beat
like
up
a
it
piece
is.
of art, honestly. Like the way people do modern art now, twisted up metal, I feel like the nets should be an exhibit of their own. Earlier this season, though, you got to go back to your home province and play in a takeover tour game in Vancouver. I know your whole girls minor association was out for that game. Everybody got the night off. Can you just speak to that night in Vancouver and what it was like for you having your family and friends out in your home province?
Yeah, like honestly, I still haven't even been able to process how that game actually happened. When I first heard about it, I remember I was in the locker room at our practice rink in Verdun, and there was kind of a rumor that we were going to get to play in Vancouver, Seattle, and I immediately was like, "Wait, what are you guys talking about? When is this game? I need to tell everybody." And yeah, just when it got announced, I think like my whole family and every person I've ever met, it felt like bought tickets and we're just ready to come and support and be a part of the new women's hockey era. So that was really cool. But yeah, the farthest west I've ever played like at a high level is Minnesota in college. And that's still like a 4-hour flight away from Vancouver. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool to get to play at home in a rink that I grew up watching the Vancouver Canucks, which I wanted to be a Vancouver Canuck when I was younger. So to be a professional women's hockey player and play there and have all my parents, my family, my cousins, friends, teachers, girls that I coach, coaches that coached me, yeah, just everyone in the building. It was really special to get to play for them and play in front of the village that helped me get me to where I am.
How many people total? I know they said on the broadcast, but like actually, how many people showed up at, like, did you have like an entire section to yourself? Like, were you actually like putting tickets aside and out of pocket paying for people to be there? Or were you just reserving some for people?
I got a lot of tickets from girls on my team, and then honestly, most of the friends and family that I had bought their tickets way before we even could get our hands on our set of tickets. So, yeah, it seriously felt like I can't even put a number on how many people were there, but it felt like thousands. And some of my family and friends arranged to get all these signs printed and matching shirts and hoodies and everything. So yeah, they really went. They went all out for it, and it was pretty cool to look up and see a lot of Gardiner stuff and just know that like all of those friends and family were there supporting me, and it was very special. And it's cool to hear that like we might possibly get an expansion team there, and playing in Vancouver might be more of a reality these days.
So, I mean, for you, you are the pinnacle for these young ladies that went out there. Like, they're not dreaming of playing for the Vancouver Canucks anymore. Like, they want to be Jenn Gardiner in the PWHL, potentially donning a Victoire jersey, or maybe if Vancouver gets an expansion team, a Vancouver jersey. For you, who was that player? Was it a male role model or was it a female role model? Who was like your athlete, the person that you looked up to?
I would say on the Vancouver Canucks, if I was to talk a male athlete, well, the Sedins were my favorite players growing up. I had like mini sticks with their names on it. We had jerseys, all that type of stuff. But female athlete was Haley Wickenheiser because she had her Wickfest tournament in Surrey every year that the Falcons hosted, which is my home organization. So she was always making an appearance at that tournament, and she still runs it every single year. So I think every girl in Surrey and in all of BC, the whole world would say that Wick is a huge role model for them. But yeah, she was definitely somebody that I looked up to.
So you were talking about that experience of playing at home in Vancouver. When you think back on it, who was like the most extra of all your family members? Who was the most excited that you were playing at home?
The first phone call that I made was my grandma. She streamed every game when I was at college, and home or away. Yeah, she wouldn't miss it, and she had my schedule written down, and she was so excited to follow my journey. So to have her be able to be in the building in Rogers Arena was something I'll never forget. And I think my entire family was just as excited as I was to have her there because they know how important she is to me and how special of a moment it was to have her there.
I love that. Grandma writing down, probably in her little, the pocket carrier calendar thing when Jen's games are.
Their
Don't print it off.
That you make
Write
fun
it
of me
down.
for having still.
Grandma Julia.
That's just my vibe.
That's cute. Was she? Was it emotional for you to have her there and be able to watch you in such a cool setting?
Yeah, definitely. I think she knows how excited I was to play in that game. And like right when we got on the ice for warm-ups, I was like searching the crowd just to look for where she was sitting and where my parents were and just the entire section in general. And yeah, I think like it was just a game that I'll never forget in terms of everyone being able to be there, but also the impact that game had on the entire province of BC was so special. The amount of girls that I heard from all over the province and coaches and the people that came to watch it, like the magnitude of that game is not even explainable. So yeah, just the entire experience was crazy.
So growing up in Van, you mentioned a couple of the teams that you had played for. You actually got to play with someone early on that you then became a Buckeye with, or now she is a Buckeye, in Jenna Buglioni. And we're actually going to do a cool little segment on our show at some point where we look ahead at draft eligible players and players who could potentially be entering the league. What kind of player is she? Like, give us a little insight, friend to friend. What do we got?
Yeah, she's a player that you wouldn't want to get stuck in a corner battle with. That's for sure.
So
I
Boston,
think
she's a Boston player. Got it.
Yeah, she's pretty well known for just her grittiness, her toughness, and something that like Muzzy would always say at Ohio is how she is the smallest player, but she has the biggest fight inside of her, and like that's definitely true. And but just in terms of her as a player during the game when I'm on her team, it's been awesome. I played with her for 2-3 years in high school, and then 4 years at OSU. So that was pretty incredible to have my best friend there, but also somebody who I read off of so well, and vice versa. So yeah, she's a special player.
And then Julia, I know I surprised you on the Abby Boreen episode with her wiener dog.
Yeah.
Jenn doesn't have a wiener dog, but she does have a cat named
okay.
Garth. And the funny thing about Garth is everyone I talked to and asked about Garth, they're like, Garth is the coolest cat ever. But he's an outside cat. And I was like, oh, no way. Like, was it just because she has a barn? And they're like, we don't know. We think the cat came with the house. And I was like, what? So poor Garth. And is Garth a girl? I think poor Garth is a girl.
She's a beautiful lady, Garth.
Where did this cat come from? And she's an outside cat. She's just still kicking it. Really good. Doing well.
Yeah, that is so funny. Garth was brought up. No, so yeah, I've lived in the same house my whole life. So she did not come with the house because she'd be pretty old. But one day, yeah, I just came home from practice and she was literally sitting in a tree on my driveway and like literally just came back every day since. And yeah, she lives outside in the barn. She doesn't come inside because my mom would never allow pets inside. So we've never had like a dog or anything like that. But yeah, like she's an outdoor cat. That's really funny. So yeah, all the girls who've come to visit me in the summers have met Garth, and yeah,
they know the legend of Garth.
This is the what did you call it again? Universal cat distribution.
The universal cat distribution system. Yeah. Cats, like dogs you acquire. Cats acquire you. And you got acquired by
right.
Garth.
That's what we always say. We're like, she chose us. Like she comes back every day. Like, yeah, it's been like 15 years now.
She chose you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who chose Garth? Like what?
How did she get that name?
I don't even know. It just happened. Like she's seriously been around for like 10, 15 years at this point. So like,
did you call her Garth and then she had kittens and then you realized she was a girl, or like how did that whole thing go down?
No, she's actually like spayed. So yeah, we took her to the vet one time and they told us that she can't have kittens, unfortunately, because I would love that.
Someone loved her at one point. Like I want to know Garth's backstory.
I know. Where'd she come from?
Garth is so popular. Of any and everyone I reached out to, the first thing everyone mentioned was Garth. They're like, she'll introduce you right away. It's the first thing she talks about. Like, you'll learn about Garth. I was like,
the funny thing is like, I'm not even a cat person. I just have a cat.
That doesn't live with you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even funnier that like you get home and the first thing you want to do is introduce your friends to your cat, except you have to go to the yard and just like yell for it.
I was gonna say, but half the time she's not even around. Yeah, like you have to search for her first.
Is there a call that works for Garth, or does she just like
I don't even know. At this point, she's my dad's. She's my dad's pet at this point because I haven't been home for so long.
Yeah,
right. That's okay. That happens.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, we hope to meet Garth one day in all her glory. I'll make a trip to the barn.
Absolutely. We got to meet Garth. I'll do the full search team. We'll get the whistles going. We'll get Garth out of the bush.
Yeah, and if there's a Vancouver expansion team, like let's just call them the Wildcats and then have Garth be the mascot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Throwing it out
Oh my gosh. That's such a good hilarious idea, actually.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Your hockey history is pretty cool. Like I loved kind of creeping back on like places you've played and, you know, all the different players, you know, that you got to play with. And obviously I reached out to some at Ohio State, but I reached out to a bunch of other players that you played with that also are now in the league. And all of them mentioned Garth as well. But Reagan Kirk was on your U18 team. There's actually a bunch of ladies that played on that team as well. But you guys were actually roommates at the under 18 tournament in Japan. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You seem pretty social to me. I mean, I've been to alumni weekends. I've cheered both of you on. It's pretty cool that you were roommates then at university. But before that, obviously, you guys played under 18s together. I heard there wasn't much conversation happening between you two. What was the deal with that?
Yeah, me and Kirky always joke because we're pretty tight now, but it was funny in U18, like we were roommates. We both didn't really know anybody on the team and just got thrown together. And literally, like, I think every day in U18s for 3 weeks in Japan, we would just sit in the room in silence. And like looking back, we're like, what were we doing? But yeah, it was so funny because now, like, Kirky, I feel like, was way more shy back then too. So now she's like fully out of her shell in every setting. And yeah, it's pretty funny when we look back at what we experienced then.
She literally told me, she's like, the only thing we said to each other was, what time are you waking up? And did you want to use the bathroom before I shower? I was like,
yes.
you guys were on the same
right.
team at a tournament for a long time. That's all you said? She's like, yeah, we weren't really chatty. Like,
yeah. Which
do
is
you talk
so
now?
unlike us. Yeah. No, we're close now. Like, well, the most we talk now is like once a week, and it's like, wait, how do you cook chicken again? What's the temperature? Like, that's what we do. We're like, we don't. We shouldn't be living alone these days. But
that's
yeah, no,
funny.
it's pretty funny. And then yeah, it was awesome when she got to come to Ohio State, had the opportunity, and we kind of reconnected and laughed about U18s and stuff. And then yeah, got tight after that.
You guys didn't want to be the first one to break the silence. You guys both won the silent treatment. So that's cool. You don't usually get two winners of that game.
Seriously.
How did you make your way to Ohio State, though? What other schools were you interested in? Was there options for you to go else? Were you interested in going elsewhere? How did the recruiting process work for you?
Yeah, a little different probably than most, but I played on the Greater Vancouver Comets from grades 10 to 12, and I, like a bunch of people around my age who were at the different academies in BC and girls that I knew and played with on the provincial team and stuff had started to commit to schools at young ages, like grade 10, grade 9. And so obviously it put a lot of pressure on me. And I looked up to my coach, who was Mark Taylor on that team, and his oldest daughter, Megan Taylor. She played at the University of Western Ontario. And so I really looked up to her as somebody growing up as well. And I got to know the coach at Western Ontario, who's Kelly Patton. I'm sure you guys know her. And she's at Laurier now. And so I actually committed to play at Western under Kelly in grade 10. So it's pretty early, and I was committed there for 2 years pretty much. And then going into my grade 12 year, I think started to go to more camps and just get more exposure, and then got noticed by Ohio State. Peter Lander recruited me out there. And so I went for a visit at Ohio State, and yeah, kind of all the dots connected from there. I was able to commit and got toured by Liz Sheppers, who was then one of my best friends, my captain, somebody I lived with. She kind of was somebody who sold me on my visit. But yeah, so that was really the only school that I had an offer from, and definitely glad that it worked out.
Did you do the whole football game? Was that your time of year or no?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. As soon as you go to Ohio State on a visit, it's like football game on Saturday. Check.
Yeah. And everyone wants to be the host, because then they get to go to the football game for free. And you're like right on the 50-yard line, like three rows up. It's like wicked.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's like, yeah. I'm like, I'll take the recruits.
Always volunteering. Word on the street is you're like the most winningest Buckeye. Everyone that I talked to from Ohio State was like, the second Jenn Gardiner became a Buckeye is the second, like, we basically started being super successful and started winning. Are you going to like take responsibility for that? Or what did you feel, I guess, once you started with the Buckeyes? Was there a change? Was it your class? Was it the coaching? What was it?
I don't know. I think a lot of it was like the captaincy that we had every single year. I feel like we always had such strong leadership, and that got passed down to the class below, in order to set the team up for success the following year. So I think that was something that really led us every year. But obviously, ultimately, the credit goes to Muzzy. I think people who don't know her or aren't a Buckeye may think she's a bit crazy, and she would say the same. But as soon as you're a part of it and you go to Ohio State, you realize how incredible of a coach she is. And we're also grateful to have been under her leadership and her coaching. And yeah, I don't think anybody who graduated from Ohio State would be anywhere without her, and they would all say the same.
Yeah. I'm starting to notice something about you, and I guess I probably should have noticed it before, the goal to win the rivalry series, how calm you were in that shooting accuracy contest with the Habs, and the fact that you got the game-winning goal in 2022 in the Frozen Four to send Ohio State to the national championships. Like, you're really clutch in these really big moments. That one for Ohio State is probably the goal that stands out the most. Like, I guess I'll put it to you. Is there a goal that stands out in your career more than that one to send your team to the national championship in 2022?
I don't know. I feel like I don't really think of like my own goals as sticking out that much.
Okay.
But if I can shift gears, I'll think of like there's like plays at Ohio State, like goals that have happened on our team that stick out, like Tegan Grant, her senior day goal. Like, it was her first goal of her college career on senior day. And like, that was like my favorite moment of Ohio State probably. So I feel like that sticks out. But in terms of my own goals, I'm not quite sure. Like, maybe the rivalry series one, just the first one with the national team. I think that is so special and something that, like, how could I ever forget that? So.
Oh my gosh, you're so humble, dude. You just like totally deflected the attention from yourself
Deflect,
when you were the
deflect.
one that got the goal to send your team to the national championship. Can you try to reflect on that moment a bit?
Julia, send them to the national championship, and that was the first national championship title they won.
Of course,
so it was like, you can kind of say you're welcome, but even Julia, when she made that sick behind the back feed to Poulin, I had messaged you and I was like, that was just silly. And you're like, well, when you're playing with Pooh, she can make things happen. And I'm like, that was you.
Wait,
you put that.
I thought you said
right
that.
on a
I said
platter.
that. I was like, I would never say such a thing.
No, Jen said that. I was like, that was all you, bud. Anyways, claim your stuff. You're an unbelievable player, and it's kind of cool to watch. But with that national championship and that run that you went on with the team, what stood out to you about your team that year, and like what made you believe like this is ours, like this is it, this is our year?
Yeah, I think that 2022 year, we like got in a lot of new players. We had some freshmen, some transfers that kind of came from all over. And, but honestly, like off the ice, we were the closest we've ever been. Like, I think that was the closest team I've ever been a part of. And just everybody came together. Everybody was so grateful to be at Ohio State, coming from their other institutions. And COVID had kind of just ended like that year, and there was just so many factors that we all just relied on each other. There was many houses of girls living together, and like we just hung out so much and did so much away from the rink, and it was one of those teams where you just have a good feeling all season. And obviously, like under Muzzy, and just like it just felt like we gave it everything we had, and the coaches did too. And going into that Frozen Four just to get like some good bounces, and yeah, it was just incredible. And 2022 was a crazy run, I think, for sure.
It's pretty unique. It's something that like, I just wanted to get to the Frozen Four when I was at Ohio State. We never got there. We broke into the top 10 and that was cool, but it's nice. It was like really nice to like see the program actually get to where, all of us had dreamt it to be. Because when I went to school, there was, the program had only been around really for like 5 years. So, it was pretty much in its infancy. So to watch you guys achieve basically, what we had dreamt of and get the program, where we wanted it to be is pretty cool. And I feel like it wasn't just like a one-stop shop. Like it was every year. It just became the expectation. And our expectation when I played was, middle of the pack in the WCHA. I don't know what it's like to play in a WCHA, which for everybody wondering in the NCAA is probably the most highly competitive conference out there. But you guys were favorites going into every season. So that's a pretty heavy burden to carry. So I guess you mentioned leadership, but for yourself, after winning in 2022, what was the mentality going into every season after that?
Yeah, I think the first thing Muzzy said to us starting the next season was anyone can win one, but going back to back is way harder. So it was kind of like, honestly, like last season was wiped and like this is totally brand new. Like we're starting from scratch. No, like even though we like are at the top from the season before, like it doesn't matter now and there's so many months ahead. So I think that was just something that drove us every day, setting the standard so high, and like Muzzy held us to such, like held the bar so high, and it was just like you could never be satisfied, and that was something that I really took away from all of my years at Ohio State.
Love that Muzz. Even Emma had Muzz stories that were like legendary, getting everyone to chirp each other in practice and stuff. Did you survive those practices?
I think she knew how to like grind some people's gears. Like Emma, of course, you're gonna get riled up. Like I'm not really gonna get angry on the ice, but after 2023, when we lost in the final, the start of the 2024 season, Muzzy put the second place trophy at center ice while we had to do the beep test on the ice. But yeah, like there's endless Muzzy stories. Like one time we were going to Wisconsin playing in Le Bon. And obviously it's like the loudest rink in probably the whole NCAA. It's always sold out. And so at practice that week leading up to it, Muzzy at our rink put over our speakers like crowd noise and like rock music and just blasted it at full volume because we had to prepare for the weekend for what we were going to hear in Le Bon. So we had to practice with that. And yeah, there was just like endless things that we did to prepare. But yeah.
Ohio State obviously championship games and big wins come, as does the fun. I feel like that's the beautiful part about Ohio State is everybody that goes there talks about, it's so great, playing hockey and doing all that stuff and competing and always being, right in the top 3 of the national rankings. But there's also a way, and there's something about OSU that just breathes a ton of fun into everyone. And like, I'm not just talking about epic partying. I'm just talking about like people getting goofy. And usually when Halloween, there's like, all the ladies like to dress up as in the cute girl outfits. And that just wasn't the case, I don't think, with Ohio State. And I was actually privy to a couple pictures that Emma had sent us. And she was like, this was the most epic Halloween costume I've ever been in. And you guys decided to dress up as Shrek. It was yourself, Peyton Levis, and Emma. What character were you and who came up with this idea?
Yeah, so Emma was Shrek, obviously, and I was Fiona. So yeah, for some reason it became this like theme every year that Emma had to be something green. I don't know when it started, but it just became a theme. Like I think she did it like
the green item, the green characters.
I couldn't even remember. One year we were frogs.
Okay.
She did something in centralization too. I can't even remember, but yeah, like it was just like she had to be something green. So naturally. And yeah, so we like homemade these costumes. Like her Shrek, like I don't even know, she had like pylons on her head. It was so funny. Like yeah, so that happened, and I think we won best costume that year. So it was pretty funny. Yeah, the Fiona wig, the dress, just everything on. And we had green face paint everywhere. Like I think we were green for like 3 days because we were still trying to get it all off.
Did you make it did you go to the bar like that, or were you just house partying?
I think we were just house partying that year because it was COVID. So we literally dressed up for our teammates and that was it.
Yourselves.
Yeah, for no reason. But also that year during COVID, like that was Halloween, but for no reason, we had like 4 costume parties in the fall, like literally no reason. But it was
funny.
They
it's themed, like or were they just like straight costume parties?
Like they were just
like just wear a costume.
Parties. Yeah, exactly.
Come dress up. We're bored. It's COVID.
Yeah, like we were bored and there was no games being played. So it was like every weekend, okay, we need a new theme. But yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah.
Emma seems to get herself in, always into a pickle, I feel, that Emma. Hey, Julia, of all the stories that we got, I mean, whether it's lice or dyeing her eyebrows the wrong color, but she seemed to drag you into a pretty interesting situation. I'm not sure if it was on the Blue Bullet or not, but there was a moment where Napoleon Dynamite style, she was pulling you behind a bike and you guys ended up on a highway with you on your rollerblades. How did you let this happen? And where does this trust in Emma come from? From everybody?
Yeah, I really shouldn't have trusted her that much, but it was so funny because like we lived in a house of 6, and so 4 girls had cars and me and Emma didn't. So one day we were like, we need to get a bike or something. So we get one bike for the 2 of us, thinking like that's gonna work. So, and it also just sat on the front porch or in the living room. Like this bike was just in the way. It cost like 150
Was it like
bucks
a
from.
Yeah, Kijiji
like,
special? I was gonna ask.
Oh
Facebook
yeah, no,
Marketplace.
it was like 150 bucks from Walmart. Like we were testing the bikes out, just ripping them around the store. Chose the Blue Bullet, and then we come home and so Emma got this internship at a physiotherapy clinic, but it was like 15 kilometers away or something crazy. And so we're literally, she's like, Jen, like I start this internship tomorrow and I'm planning on biking there. She had to be there for like 7 a.m. like till 1, and then we'd go to practice. And so it was the Sunday before, and she's like, can you help me just map out my route there? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like it's a sunny day in the fall, whatever. And so we only had one bike, and I had my rollerblade. So she biked and I rollerbladed, and we were literally on the highway and going through like this overpass, and it was crazy. So I'm like, Emma, like I can't rollerblade this fast, and it's like uphill. There's rocks everywhere, like semi trucks flying by. So I had to grab on to her bike while she's trying to pedal. Of course, this thing like barely even has gears either. So while this is all happening, like the handlebars are literally falling off the bike. Oh, it was just a nightmare. Like we finally got there like 2.5 hours later. And I was like, there's no way you're going to do this every day. And she tried her best to do that the next week. And so then the next day she started her internship. So 6 a.m. she leaves the house on her bike. And of course there's a storm. So it's like pouring rain out, like miserable. And she showed up to work just soaking wet, like head to toe. And the handlebars were sideways on the bike because she had probably crashed it or something. I have no idea. And her boss was like, I think you should just go home and come back on Wednesday and try again. So
she didn't even work that day?
I think she like made it through maybe like a couple hours, but like her shoes were soaked. She was squishing around the office. Like it was brutal.
Oh my gosh. You gotta admire that dedication. Because I would have, again, like I would have woken up, I would have seen the rain, like I would have been called. You can't, there's no Ubers.
No, yeah. Like talk about adversity. I think
jump on the bus.
What?
We've got
after
a
that
good
moment,
busing
like
system.
after
it's
that,
not
like,
lost on me that 4 other girls in the house also had a car. Like nobody wanted to give her a ride.
But I think like the mindset was like, I can do this. Like I don't need to ask for help. Like it's okay. And but after that, like cars were definitely the transportation method.
So did she take the same route the next day on the bike over the highway?
Yes, yeah. And there was like train tracks. It was also dark out because she was at 6 a.m. Like, oh, it was miserable. But I was sleeping and I woke up to hear, like, I think she had left me like a voicemail or something. And I woke up and I'm like, I can't believe you're there. Like, I'll come pick you and the bike up when you're done.
I love it.
Oh, it was so funny. Yeah.
Don't drive your bike anymore. No more. Throw that thing away.
The Blue Bullet is retired.
Yeah,
where is the Blue Bullet now?
Yeah, a good question. So it lived on the front porch in the backyard of our hockey house. I don't know if you've ever seen the hockey house, Tessa, but it's a bit of a gong show. And one day we just came home and the bike was gone. So somebody stole it off the back porch.
You were low-key hoping that was going to happen.
Yeah, like we didn't.
There was a part of you that was like, I don't want to get rid of this thing. I'm going to leave it unlocked and hopefully someone just comes and handles it for me.
Yeah, the best part too is like when we would drive the bike to practice or something, like we'd park it like right in the middle of the rink or in the locker room or something. And every day like Muzzy would come into the lounge and be like, whose bike is this? Like, what is this? It's in the way. And all of us are like, we have no idea. Oh, it was so
Meanwhile,
funny.
you and Emma rode in seedy, like one sitting down, the other. That is so good.
Yeah.
I love that. Blue Bullet, what a legend. There was another legend on the team, a team mascot, I think, by the name of Julius. What happened to that ostrich?
Yeah. So they got this like stuffed animal. It was an ostrich. And for some reason, like, it was everywhere, like, because I was in the main house. And so it lived in our house, this stupid little stuffed animal. It drove me nuts. Everybody knew I didn't like Julius. But, like, Emma would bring him out to the bars. And, like, all the other athletes knew who this stuffed animal was.
Where did he come from originally, though? Like, it wasn't around when you went there, Tess, was it?
No.
Or did you, like, birth Julius? Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if you were, like, the inventor of Julius. I wonder when he came.
I did not.
I
into
think
play.
one of the girls, like a couple years older than me, had it and then like left
Okay.
it in the house, and the house just gets passed down every year. So then it's like, oh, like I have this stuffed animal. Now what? But yeah, like Julius, literally, they started an Instagram account for it, actually. But it drove me nuts. And I would like throw him in the washing machine. Like I hated him. And he would just like, it was just dirty. And it was so funny because one day, I think it was Christmas break, I like had an earlier flight. So I left, and then like Kirky was in the house, and I come back from Christmas break and Kirky's there. And she had put Julius in my bed. So I'm like, I just flew back to Columbus and I'm getting into bed like all ready. And I pull back the sheets and there's Julius sitting there. I'm like, what the heck? So naturally, so naturally I like walk outside, toss Julius in the dumpster. I'm like, he's done. Like, I'm getting rid of him. So I throw Julius away. And sure enough, the next week, somebody ordered a new ostrich and he was like sitting in my stall at the rink. I'm like, I don't even know. So new Julius is somewhere in Columbus, Ohio, but I have no idea where. And I don't want to know.
Like, how did you not get your Buckeye card revoked? I heard like that. I asked Emma, I'm like, Julius, I'm like, how long was Julius around? She's like, before my time even. And Jen just threw him away. And I was like, did the room not
You
revolt?
put an end to something that you thought was nonsense.
To something that exactly. I was like, we're done with this. Like, this is not happening anymore.
So funny.
So I walked outside. I just threw him in the dumpster. I was like, we're done.
We never had one, by the way, when I went to school. Just, I know you were going to ask, Julia, but we didn't. Everybody still loved you, even though you threw away their coveted mascot, which is, I mean, I get it. You're good teammates because I keep in touch with all the ladies that I went to school with. I know that you all keep in touch. I actually saw on everyone's social media, you guys all made a pretty cool trip to Alaska. That's pretty sweet. I mean, what'd you guys get into there?
Yeah, I think honestly, like it was a 7-day trip and I have not laughed that hard my entire life. Like we are even saying, we're like, we can't go back this summer because it took so much of a toll on us, just like laughing and like it was so funny, but nothing will ever top that trip. Like it was so fun. And like you said, like I think the alumni core at Ohio State is like unbeatable. Even other girls on other teams, I feel like, say that they know Ohio State has such a strong alumni. Like we all go back every week or every year for alumni weekend and like do summer trips, go visit each other, all that good stuff. But yeah, Alaska was a core memory.
You guys went like deep sea fishing and stuff. Like who all went? First of all, It was you, Emma. Was Sophie Jakes there?
Yeah, Sophie, Kirky, Biz, Gabby Rosenthal, Peyton Levis, Lauren Bernard, and yeah, we were visiting Claire DeGeorge. And it was literally so much fun. Like I feel like we accomplished enough. Like it felt like we covered all of Alaska in 7 days. Like the first day
How
we
did you
got there,
plan it? Like I was honestly really impressed by your planning skills. I might be stealing your itinerary. I want to go to Alaska. It looks sick.
It was so fun. Like we're fortunate because Claire DeGeorge lives there, so she hosted us all and planned like the whole trip for us. She had like 2 cars arranged, and it was like a whole ordeal. Like we got to stay at her friends and family's cabins nearby and do all the like. It worked out perfect. But yeah, like we seriously did so much. The first day we went deep sea fishing, and the night before we stayed at a cabin, which was basically just a barn because there was no electricity and no water. So that was an experience you can only imagine for a group of like 8 girls.
I'm sure you guys were pumped about that. Was that like,
honestly,
was there a warning to that before you got there? Like night one's gonna be no power, no electricity?
Yeah, no, it was like Claire gave us the full rundown on the trip ahead of time. So everyone was pretty prepared for it. And actually it was funny too, because Claire suggested to everyone before the trip, like if you have a sleeping bag or a sleeping mat, bring it. And so Emma, thinking smart, she's like, oh, I'm going to order a sleeping bag. Like, this is perfect. I'm going to outsmart everyone. I'm going to have my own. So, of course, she orders this $5 sleeping bag to Claire's house, thinking that's going to be enough for the Alaska wild weather.
Yeah.
And literally this sleeping bag, she opens it up and it was as thin as a sheet. So then, of course, for the whole trip, because we're not even at Claire's house, we're like out at her cabins and all this stuff in the woods. We're like short 1 blanket because Claire like planned on Emma having this sleeping bag. Oh, it was so funny.
Emma
so that was kind of the
so
running joke.
brand.
Emma ordered the sheet that you put inside of the sleeping bag is what Emma ordered.
Yeah, correct.
Leave it to Emma.
Yeah, and then like a couple nights we spent in tents, literally sleeping like on yoga mats on just like the rock ground, and we were all just piled in. It was so funny, and honestly just the best group to go with because we were all so close, and that trip definitely made us closer too.
That's cool. I dig it. I heard you run out of gas or something at some point.
Yeah, we did run out of gas, or we almost did. We were like 20 minutes past a gas station and over an hour from one. So we're like, oh, this isn't going to work. So we start trekking back. And the one van that we were driving of Claire's was like a 2004 Honda Odyssey or something like that. So we're like, and nothing worked. Like it didn't have speakers. It didn't even have back seats. Like me and Sophie were sitting in the way back seats, like just lounging back there. It was so funny. And those were like our assigned seats the whole trip. So like every time we were going somewhere, me and Sophie got like the back of the 2004 van and like hooked up our aux to this little speaker. It was so funny. But yeah, we had to like go back, get gas, and of course, there's no cell service either. So if we ran out, we would have been literally walking.
Yeah. You can't mess around with it when you get up to those locations, Tessa.
Yeah.
Like when I'm driving up north towards our neck of the woods, like you can't mess around with gas. And I'm the worst with gas. Like I will push it when I'm in the city, but when you get out of the city, you can't mess
the
around.
worst part is like the thing that like says how much gas you have, it didn't work, and all of a sudden the light comes on and we're like, oh no, like we had no idea that we were even this low.
Oh, you were doing your best. You couldn't
They
blame.
say when they say when the light comes on, you've got like 50 clicks left. Max.
You have 60, I thought.
Yeah.
And that's keeping it under 110.
Yeah.
Because
So
I've been in your situation too.
Yeah, this
Gas
van.
guzzler, V8.
yeah. Like foot to the floor, trying to just get any oomph out of it. Like
Not exactly eco-friendly. It doesn't
No,
have
not at
eco
all.
boost on it.
Yeah.
Think about the horsepower you guys had with all the hockey players in there. Like you ran out of gas. Like threes are getting out and pushing that thing. You're at least clipping at 30 to 40.
Oh yeah, no,
Just
we had
a lot of
already
hard
like
open.
Yeah, we
Jump
were
in on the
picturing
downhill.
like us on the side of the road. And then we started discussing, we're like, okay, like imagine you were driving by, three girls waving for help on the side of the road. Like, would you stop? So we started
Yes.
playing all these like scenes in our head of
Well,
like what
would
we
you?
would do.
Because Tessa and I were in that situation earlier this year, and people thought we were highway robbers, so
Oh
nobody
my
wanted to
God.
help us.
That's true.
Like,
That
I
is
thought
true.
we were going to
That's
jump them.
crazy.
I know,
Although
none of
we-
us are,
We weren't looking
Very
good,
good
Julia.
travelers.
We were looking rough. And
We were
missed
looking
the
rough
quick up
too.
and-
Yeah, like we
So
were not
maybe
in
you
cute
wouldn't have been
mode. We
saved.
looked like we
Yeah.
were hanging in the Alaskan wilderness, and that's why that guy
Yeah.
thought we were like some group of
And we were
highway
just-
robbers.
That's
we were
so
just coming
funny.
from Seattle. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I feel like the more and more I did digging on you, the more everyone just kind of kept sharing and telling me just how great of a teammate you are. And everyone kept saying, just the best teammate, whatever, awesome friend. And I was like, well, what? Like, what is it that makes her so great? And one of the first things in the group chat that someone threw out there was Timbits Thursdays. Now, is that still a thing? Do you still pull off a Timbits Thursday to win over all your teammates to say nice things about you?
I honestly don't, but yeah, that started teammate Lisa Bruno actually. Like during COVID, every Thursday was always the best vibes. You got to go to practice, like we got smoothies made for us after practice. We got to do hair down showdown. Like practice was 60 minutes and off. Like it was always
What's
a ton
hair
of
down
fun.
showdown?
Yeah, sorry, we got to stop there. What's
Oh.
hair down showdown?
Oh, it's like a shootout. A shootout at the end of practice. Like every week you do it, and then whoever, if you don't score at the end of it, you throw your sticks in a pile, and then the winner, so it could be the goalies or if a player won that week, would like close their eyes and pull out 3 sticks from the pile. And then for the next week, they had to have their hair down during the shootout. But we had some fun with it. Like sometimes people would bring in wigs and all that stuff, but we always knew which stick was Muzzie's. So I think hers was a target every week. And she participated in the shootout. She always came down and took a big slap shot. Probably missed the net most of the time. But yeah, we always tried to get her stick, and her locks were flowing in the shootout the week after. So yeah, that was really fun.
Julia wouldn't have minded that.
That's an epic punishment. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. I
Just
think
like
a lot
goals
of
for me.
college teams do the shootout actually.
That's
The hair
That's
down
incredible.
showdown, that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a punishment. It's just the way I
I'm pretty
live my
sure
life.
it's a thing. Yeah. No, like some people would like love, they're like, choose my stick.
Yeah.
That'd be
Let my
Julia.
hair flow. Look at it. You think I don't want this
Yeah.
flowing in the wind? It would look
Yeah,
stunning.
like
Come on.
no, like some people would miss the net on purpose just so they could put their stick in the pile. Like it was just like
That would legit. When Julie had no idea this was the competition, but the second she heard hair down showdown, she was just like, I could win that. She was
I
just
know
like,
I
you need
would
to
win
go
that.
back as she's stroking her hair. You need to go back and tell us about their hair down showdown.
Tell us about it, please,
Yeah.
please. You and Kayla Barnes, though, you got to go from Hair Down Showdown to the real show together. Did you have any expectation? There were so many of you going into the draft. Had it crossed your mind that like, oh, I could maybe get drafted with a former teammate of mine?
Yeah, I think we knew the chances were pretty high just because of how many of us did declare for the
Yeah.
draft, but you had no idea like where you were going to be with who, like anything like that. So, like when it actually happened, just when she got drafted to Montreal, there was kind of a shock. And then when I heard my name get drafted to Montreal, the first thing I thought of was, okay, at least I have like one friend. Like that's just always so nice going with somebody who you're comfortable with, who you've played with before. And then right away we were like, okay, we can be roommates. And I'm actually sitting in our apartment right now. We are roommates, of course. So yeah, it's been pretty fun and special. So
That was like the best reaction because I walked back there just to go give you ladies a high five and you ran and hugged each other and you're like, we can live together now. And I was like, that was adorable.
Yeah, seriously.
Aw.
That was like the
That was
first
good.
thing because I feel like your mind just goes 100 places and like you black out in that moment. But it's like at least like what you do know is you're going to have one friend, you're going to have a roommate and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get drafted to Montreal and you're so excited about being able to play with a former teammate in Kayla Barnes, but a whole bunch of other incredible players in Montreal that you probably never had the opportunity. Or am I wrong on that? Had you gotten to play with any of the players in Montreal other than Kayla Barnes beforehand? Like, did you have familiarity? I'm obviously walking myself to the question of like, did you picture yourself ever playing flanking Poulin when you went to Montreal? Like, was that in the cards at all?
Yeah, I think had been like familiar with a bunch of the girls from Hockey Canada camps and just the rivalry series that I got to play in last year. So got to meet all of them there and had started to build relationships. But like actually getting to play on their team and be in the locker room every day is a whole different experience. And it is pretty scary at first, like going somewhere new and even with your high school team or with your college team, like you choose where you're going, you choose your team. But here, like they chose me, and I'm so grateful that they did because I wouldn't have wanted to land anywhere else. And I love Montreal. I love everything about our team, and yeah, I'm really fortunate to be here. But yeah, it's been a pretty special year just getting to play alongside all of the players we have on our team and at practice every day, just to see all the things that they do to elevate their game. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, but in your wildest dreams, was you playing alongside Pooh, dishing her sweet backhand passes like ever in your cards? Was that something you dreamt of, or is it just like now you're living it and that's your reality?
Yeah, no, I like don't even think I could have ever dreamt of something like that. Like it was beyond that. Like I don't even think I ever pictured this happening for myself. Like playing here, playing with Pooh, calling Pooh a great friend of mine as well. Like I would have never imagined that as a little girl growing up. And I think the little girl inside of me is still screaming a little bit. Like it's still pretty surreal and yeah, it's been special and I'm just grateful for her like friendship and mentorship as well. I think she's the best leader and best player in the world and somebody who's so great to learn from every day.
That's awesome. You're living with Kayla Barnes, you said, and you obviously moved into a place which was, I want to say, unfurnished, so it had to be furnished. So out of the two of you, who was the handy one that put all your furniture together?
Well, between the two of us, Erin Ambrose did it all. She every time we had something to build.
Dad? Is that the vibe?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like we literally had no idea. I mean, we probably had the capabilities to build everything, but like after you're moving so much, you're just like the last thing I want to do is build like a coffee table, a couch, a TV stand. So Erin was so kind to us during that process and she came over and literally built everything.
That's
It was
so
like
nice.
Yeah, like every day she's like, okay, what box is arriving? Like what furniture are we building today? And her and Henry, her dog, would come over and they'd sit and like build it for us. So yeah, we thank Erin for our apartment.
Oh, that is
That's
so good.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's one last thing on this sheet, on this sheet that we have of questions for you. Are you allergic to beef?
Is that real?
Did that come from
I've only heard of
Kirky?
that one time, by the way. Are you
Well,
allergic to beef?
like I just that's really funny. I kept getting like food poisoning on the road, or not even food poisoning, but every time we would go out to dinner and have beef or like steak or something, like I would just be so unwell after. So of course, we started to spread it that I did have a beef allergy. And that just
Like
went
tested?
no,
Or
but
self-diagnosed?
Like self-diagnosed beef allergy, yeah. And I have
Okay.
started to eat it again, so we're totally okay now. I don't know what happened.
Nice.
It's kind of like Sophie Jake's lettuce allergy. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
Please enlighten us.
That didn't come up in our interview. A lettuce allergy?
yeah, don't ask her for pictures. She does have a lettuce allergy, self-diagnosed as well. But
No
Sophie's not much of a fruit and veggie kind of girl, so it doesn't really bother
We've
her.
heard that.
Yeah.
That's
Her
like-
and Nursey. Her
Yeah,
and Nursey
oh,
are just like beige plates.
yeah.
Beige
Yeah, no.
plates
Oh,
and
that's
pizza.
great.
Just
You've got
Italian
beef?
food, that's all they need.
That's all you
Yeah,
need.
that's funny. So it became this whole thing. Like I had this beef allergy, and yeah, that probably came from Kirky, I'm assuming.
That's awesome. Okay,
What's
this was so
crazy
much
is-
fun.
What's crazy is Julia is when she said that. She's like made up beef allergy. I'm like, actually, I have a niece that has a beef allergy and she's like slowly working her way through it. And so I was like, oh, cool. There's 2 people with beef allergies I know. But
All right.
clearly yours hasn't been diagnosed. But beef allergies are real. So if you feel like
Okay.
you were, then I believe you. I believe you, Jen.
Thank
Good
you.
to know.
It
Beef
was
allergies
hurting
can
in
be
the
real.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had beef with beef. You had beef with
seriously
beef. You
felt
had
like I
beef with
did.
the ostrich.
I did.
But no beef with anybody else. We
Yeah, I
loved
did.
watching you play this season. It was awesome watching you get that goal at the rivalry series. Awesome
Yeah.
watching you play with the Victoire. Great to see you win the skills comp accuracy shooting yesterday with the Habs. Good luck the rest of the season. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you guys for having me on. It was a ton of fun.
Good chatting, Jen. Go Bucks. Keep killing it.
Yeah, go Bucks.
And again, that one brought to you by Royale Tiger Paper Towel. Power through tough messes. All right, it's Friday. You know what that means. Time for our Fanduel Friday 5. A little bit of a quiet weekend in the PWHL, Tessa. Lots of games
It
next
is.
week, but dark in the PWHL Thursday, Friday before Boston, Montreal, Saturday. Montreal minus 160 favorites on the money line. Over under set at 4.5. How do you feel about that game?
I'm still going to go Montreal on this one. This is going to be a chippy game, I think. But Montreal's got their footing. I think they're starting to swing in the right direction. With the over-under set at 4.5, I'm going to pick over on this one for
Ooh.
whatever reason maybe. I know it's 2 of the best goaltenders in the league going head-to-head. However, I just feel like there's about to be a whole lot of offense pop off because there's a break coming for these ladies. And when there's a light at the end of the tunnel, your skates get a little lighter. You know, there's a little bit more oomph. All of a sudden you realize you got a little bit more left in the tank than you thought. And you're saving it for nothing. So I think that the offensively gifted players are going to come to play on this one.
You like any anytime goal scorers in this game? I got them in front of me if you want odds.
Susanna Tapani, I feel like she's
Love
just
it.
been another red hot player. So I would put money on her anytime goal scorer.
Plus 380 odds for Susanna Tapani. And if you became a really big Jennifer Gardiner fan from our interview with her that you just would have listened to, plus 390 odds for her to
Ooh.
score. So if you throw a little sprinkle on either one of those players, you do pretty well for yourself. Tessa, I think that's all we got for this week. Only one game in the PWHL. Again, that's on Saturday between Boston and Montreal. And we'll talk to you again on Tuesday. We appreciate all of our sponsors so much here at the Jocks and Jills podcast. Shark Ninja, Pizza, CCM, Royale. Love you all. Big fans of working with all of you. Appreciate you putting this on for us. And to all of you who listen every week, twice a week to Jocks and Jills, you know we love you guys so much. Make sure you follow along on YouTube, on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, Facebook, and Blue Sky. We're building our way. We're building our way up on Facebook and Blue
Slowly
Sky,
but
Tessa.
surely.
Slowly but surely. Love you guys. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy a couple days off. No hockey. Maybe we'll try to go outside or something. I don't know. Talk to you Tuesday.